Former Page County Sheriff Daniel Presgraves pleaded guilty this morning to an amended racketeering charge. As part of the racketeering charge, he admits to obstruction of justice and using inmate labor on private property for personal use. On the obstruction of justice, prosecutors say he told victims he had sexually abused to keep quiet. 22 other charges against Presgraves would be dropped if the judge accepts the plea deal. And joining us now to discuss the Presgraves case and Page County is J.D. Cave, the county supervisor for District 3. J.D., thanks for joining us.
You're welcome, Bob. Good to be with you by telephone this afternoon.
Well, let me begin by getting your reaction to today's actions.
Well, Danny Presgraves has been a friend of mine for a long time, and I'm saddened by what happened in, well, not just October of this past year, but you don't like to see bad things happen to friends, and you don't like to see friends make bad choices, and evidently Danny made some bad choices.
How has this case impacted the county?
Not much, really. I kind of listening and had a little bit of a hand on the pulse in the county today. As a matter of fact, as you know, I do a radio show in Luray on our stations, and this was a topic of discussion this morning. But it's not a. I don't want to say it's not a big deal, but it's not. It's not as big as some people would make it out to be. The big news was obviously in October of last year when the indictment and the arrest came down. That was a little bit of a shocker, but we've moved past that. The county has gotten on with it. We've, as you know, an interim sheriff, and John Thomas has been named. Sheriff Thomas is doing a remarkable job, in my opinion. He's vying for this full-time job. He'll be on the ballot to be elected as sheriff in November against Pete Monteleone, as you know. And I think as a county, we've kind of gotten this thing past us, and we've moved on. It was big news across the state and the East Coast, as a matter of fact, last fall. But I don't want to say it's old news, but it's not real big news anymore.
Any thoughts on how people perceive today's action, the guilty plea?
I think the reaction is all over the scale there. You have some people that say, "Oh, that means if he's going to get maybe 2.5 years or 30 months, and half of that will be suspended. He may or may not do it." This is conjecture, by the way. People are saying he may do less than a year, and that's not right. He should get 300 years in the slammer. So you get people all over the place as far as what should happen. I don't know that it's up to us. Obviously, the judge is going to come back with what he thinks is a fair and equitable sentence.
Bringing that up, might this upset people that he would never face a jury on the other charges?
Possibly. Some people, I've heard a little bit of that too. That he should have had his day out there in the ring, so to speak. And if this is the best course of action that Mr. Danny Presgraves thinks is best for himself and his family, then so be it. Speaking of the family, there is a lot of understanding, sympathy, what have you, for the family. His wife Annie, a spouse of anybody that's accused of wrongdoing, has to suffer along with him. A little over a year ago, Danny lost his father to cancer, so there's a little bit of a I don't want to say sympathy factor, but maybe there is a little bit for that. But it kind of gets back to if you do the crime, do the time kind of thing, and I guess the judge will decide what's best.
Does this put a cloud over the sheriff's office?
Oh, I don't think so, not at all. If there was any cloud, it was last fall, but we've moved past that now. We've got a great man in John Thomas doing a fantastic job, and I think we've advanced way past any kind of clouds.
Even though obviously some would say, well, those people worked under Danny Presgraves and were there when these acts were being committed.
Well, I don't know that there's any guilt by association kind of thing. Some people are still there, some are not.
All right, very good. Well, J.D. Cave, I want to thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure, Bob.
Now let's send it back to Mel.